Hello everyone, welcome to a new chess video. Welcome to a spectacular video with the black pieces. I'm going to show you how to win against this move right here. E4 with the Caro-Kann defense. But you'll tell me, look, chess teacher, the Caro-Kann defense is a very passive defense, very boring. Careful, that's because you haven't studied chess teacher's Caro-Kann defense, a variation that poses many problems for your opponent. Many, and I'm sure it's going to make you win many games. The Caro-Kann defense, when they play this pawn here, you simply advance the bishop's pawn one step. The most common thing is for them to respond with these two pawns, taking the center since we don't, and now we respond with d5. And here we have the Caro-Kann defense. They're very well-known lines here. However, the line I'm going to show you today, I'm sure it's going to blow your mind. First of all, I hope this video looks good today because I don't have a tripod and I have the camera on top of a stool that's also inside a box on top of another box and held up with a shampoo and a book. That is to say, today, it's true that I had everything against me to not record a video for all of you. However, I've been looking for over an hour for the perfect way to focus on the board for you. So I hope you appreciate it a lot and give me a good like, please, before I buy another tripod. All right, then. In the Caro-Kann defense, notice that there are two main variations here, okay? The most main one of all is that they advance this pawn, okay? Because notice that what we're doing is posing a threat of pawn takes pawn. This threat is obvious, right? So they have to either advance or exchange, which isn't a good idea for the white pieces. Why? I'll explain it quickly. Because they're exchanging a central pawn for a side pawn. So exchanging, we would simply exchange here, and white has lost a central pawn for one of our side pawns. So the two good variations are either to advance, which is the most typical, or to defend this pawn with the knight, which I'm also going to explain how to play. But let's see what happens when they advance the pawn, which is what most people do against the Caro-Kann. This is obvious. Here, the main move is to place the bishop on f5 and keep playing, right? But I'm going to show you a way to put on a lot of pressure, and this way is c5, advancing this pawn again. All right, chess teacher, look, don't give me any tall tales. You're telling me that in this variation that's so good and so aggressive, you play the same pawn twice? It looks like we've reached the French defense, right? When white plays here, we play here. It seems like we're in the French defense, but on top of that, having lost the tempo, oh, careful. This is going to turn into an improved variation of the French defense. Even if you don't believe it, you're going to see it next. You're going to be amazed. All right, so now what are we doing? Pressuring the d4 point, right? The most played move here by far is c3. If they play knight f3 or any other move, we're going to keep doing the same thing, okay? But anyway, c3 is the most used move. Notice that white says, well, now if they play e6, we're in a French defense, but I have an extra tempo. But what is the main difference and the main improvement compared to the French defense? This bishop right here. This bishop isn't locked inside the pawn chain. Everyone knows, and if you don't, I'm telling you now, that in the French defense, this bishop is a burden. It's a horrible piece. However, now with this Caro-Kann, which is like an improved French defense, this bishop is going to come to life. Mainly, what will we have to do? Focus on attacking this d4 square, just like in the French, first with the pawn and now with the knight. Notice that if you understand the concepts in this video well, you'll be able to win most of your games with the black pieces. Very well. Now we're putting pressure on this d4 square with two pieces, right? The pawn and the knight. What is the most common response here for the white pieces? Obviously, knight to f3. And so we were biding our time for white to play knight f3, so we could develop this bishop with spectacular aggressiveness. If they had done it sooner, they would have too. You understand me, right? Very well. Now, what are we doing besides pinning this knight? We're neutralizing this knight's defense of the d4 square. The key point will be attacking to win the game. Remember, the d4 square. Here, the most logical thing, okay, is for white to develop the bishop to e2, precisely to reactivate the defense of this knight. Notice that now this knight can't move because of the pin. With a bishop to e2, they wouldn't have any kind of problem. Very well, so how should we continue? Well, now look closely. We already have the bishop outside the pawn chain, so we can play e6. Everything is so simple that it seems like just by watching this video once, you'll remember everything. However, you can watch it as many times as you need, each at your own pace, okay? Very well, we're attacking this square, we're attacking this knight, This knight is defended. How should the white pieces continue? Here, really, the most normal thing is castling. However, we don't care what they do because we're going to have a very simple plan. Develop this knight through here. With what idea? With ideas of developing it, perhaps via 5, to bring another piece to attack this square. Notice that we already have 1 and 2. We want to bring in a third. We could even bring the queen to b6 to attack d4 as well. As you already know, in the French, the queen is usually developed quickly to b6. In this variation, we're going to take a bit longer. We're going to delay this queen move a little bit, okay? Now, white might realize that our goal is to target d4 here, right? It's normal. Man, they can develop their bishop while defending this square. In fact, it's the most used move in this position, but we don't care. This even helps us. Why? Because when we jump with the knight to f5, we not only attack this pawn, but we also attack this bishop right here. Very well, serious question. What do you prefer, capturing this bishop or capturing this pawn? Without a doubt, it's better to capture this pawn. Although we want to win the bishop pair, we already know that's always so important. In this case, this point right here is always going to be our primary objective. In fact, notice that here, the white pieces, if they move this bishop, they would surely be losing a pawn because we would do bishop takes knight, bishop takes, and now we would have too many pieces pointing at this d4 point, and we would end up winning a pawn. Here, the most common move of all is h3. You'll ask me, why h3? Well, obviously, to try to make this bishop go away and not exchange for this knight. So remember that whenever they play h3, we want to exchange this bishop for a knight, which normally shouldn't be done, okay? In this type of position. However, in this opening, it's essential. Why? Because we're eliminating the knight on f3 that directly defends this point. And now, it's time to take our queen out for a walk. How? Well, with queen b6. This is the key move. Look closely that here we already have a very comfortable game, and only problems are going to come for white. What have we done? Put a lot of pressure on this point. This Caro-Kann defense with this bishop variation over here is spectacular. Look closely, okay? Now we're attacking the bishop, we're attacking the pawn with several pieces, and we're attacking this b3 point. The b2 side. Logically, right? Logically, white prefers to lose this side and backward pawn rather than the central pawn that defends the whole position. That's why here they realize one thing. First, how many pieces are attacking this pawn? 1, 2, 3, and 4. How many are defended? 1, 2, 3. Watch out, they're about to lose a pawn. With which piece can they defend it? With none. See? With none. That's why here they'll say, well, if I can't defend it anymore in any way, at least I'll exchange the pawns and we'll do a pawn trade. However, here, how are we going to react? Well, here the correct answer is queen takes pawn. Queen takes b2, right? At the moment, we don't have an extra pawn. Why? Because they've captured this one and we've captured this one, right? Very well. But now, look closely. We're attacking the rook, and the only way to defend it is to move the knight, see? To defend it with the queen. And now it's the turn. For what? To take this bishop right here. We take this bishop, we make a fork. Therefore, it's obvious that they have to take. And look at this. Look what a bad pawn structure. The square structure. What is this? Terrible. We're even attacking through here. We're attacking through here. I recommend you capture this one first. And you'll ask me, why, chess teacher? Because now what I'm doing is increasing the pressure on the other pawns. I'm attacking this pawn here, and this pawn here with 2 pieces. I mean, I have an extra pawn, and on top of that, I'm attacking 3 your pawns at once. They have to defend one. Logically, they're gonna defend this one. Why? Because we take with check, and then we would take another one. They can defend it however they want. We don't care, because then we'll come in to take with the bishop, and we attack this pawn again with 2 pieces, and we also attack this one with 2 more pieces, knight and queen. I mean, look at this, okay? I'll give you a quick summary so you understand it perfectly. In this opening, we want to destroy the d4 point. See how we've made all the moves to take this d4 point? Once we get it, the opponent's options are gone because look at how their position falls apart. Remember this well, okay? Instead of traditional variations, we move the pawn again and play c5, putting pressure on this point here. And we've seen that c3 seemed like a very normal variation for white, but it ended up losing. Why? Because we were pressing this pawn here too hard since this bishop was left outside the pawn chain. It's true that if they play this knight, we could come directly. But what happens, chess teacher, if we give away the pawn here and they capture it? At first glance, it might seem like a bad move for white. However, be careful, because if we don't know how to punish it, we won't win the game. Instead, we'll be down a pawn. Many of you would say, well, we play e6, attack it with the bishop, but then this bishop would be trapped in the pawn structure again, and this opening wouldn't be successful. So pay attention, because it's very simple, and I'm going to explain it so you can all understand it perfectly. Simply put, what we're going to do is start attacking this e5 point. What? Because it's no longer defended by the d4 pawn. Don't worry, you'll always get this pawn back. It's very simple. They'll never be able to defend it. So we're going to put pressure on this point right here. We attack the pawn, they have to defend it. And what happens? They've brought out this knight, so we bring this bishop here outside the pawn chain. We pin the knight with bishop g4. Logically, we're in a similar position where if they want to keep defending this point, look, if they ignore everything now, we take here, putting brutal pressure on this pinned knight. So one way or another, they have to try to keep this knight defending this point. And now, simply, since we've already brought the bishop outside the pawn chain, I'm laughing because it's so easy, we play e6. I think this opening is spectacular. Now, by playing e6, what do? We fortify the center, attack the c5 pawn, and also, watch out, we're attacking this e5 pawn too. How can we capture this pawn? Well, it's just too simple. We'd simply have to do bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, and there'd be no defender left on this point, and this knight would be the one to capture it. Okay? So we're threatening these 2 points. All right, they already understand they're going to lose this point. Why? Because they simply captured here and we would recapture it. But they want to keep defending this one because it's the e5 pawn. It's a very important pawn. Imagine if white loses this pawn. Then they'd be in pretty bad shape, right? Very well. White can conquer. Oh, sorry, it's our turn now. Okay. We're here. They've defended this point with the bishop. All right, it's very simple how we're going to continue here, okay? The simplest thing of all is to try and capture this pawn here, right? Good. Sorry, okay? I got a little mixed up. I'm back on track now. First, we capture this pawn right here, okay? And white can do whatever they want. Very well. How could we capture this pawn? Well, we could do it in several ways. We could pressure it with queen c7 with knight e7 to then try to pressure it from here with both knights. But there's a direct way to win the e5 pawn, and that's bishop takes knight. Bishop takes bishop, and simply apply pressure through here. Bishop d4 attacks the b2 point and the e5 point. And we're going to end up capturing both pawns. Right now, we're equal in material, much better in structure, and we're attacking this pawn that will capture for sure, and this one that will capture for sure. If they try, preferably, which one do we want to capture? This one, okay? If they try to do this to protect, perfect, right? We capture here, even better. But what happens if they try to defend this one? Well, we'll always have queen c7, knight e7, knight g6 available to apply pressure. But it's true, they have to be very careful, because if they only defend here now, bishop takes b2 would also win the rook, right? So they're in a very complicated situation where we've managed to capture this pawn way too easily. So we'll be left with with a material advantage and a positional one as well. Watch out, friends. There are a couple of traps that the white pieces can set for you when you play this variation, and it's my duty to show them to you, especially so you don't fall for them, as they're very popular. Be careful, okay? Here, when we play c5 and they take this pawn, we said we'll play knight c6, pressuring this point, and if they defend it, we'll attack this knight up to here. All very normal, right? Why did they play bishop e2? Well, because white sees the threat of knight takes e5, right? Are y'all with me? But here's a trap, which is making a neutral move, letting us in with knight takes e5, making it look like we've already completely won here. We capture the central pawn, we apply pressure on this point, but here you're going to be amazed by the trap white has. You mustn't fall for it, okay? They simply capture this knight, giving you the queen for free. Yeah. And what happens when we capture the queen? Why is this a trap? Because they have this check right here, bishop b5 check, where the king can't go anywhere. We have to give up the queen. Not only that, but when we do, this bishop is defended by the knight. And look closely. Now they're win back the bishop. And if we count, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in exchange for 2. They'd be up 2 pieces. So when they capture, you play knight c6, knight f3, and you pin here. And if they play c3, trying to set the little trap of taking here, you shouldn't take, you should play e6. Why is X? Because you're following the opening plans. Developing this bishop, developing this knight, attacking this point, and now attacking this point right here. However, they can defend this point with bishop e3, and now it looks like they've left this pawn here again. And many of you will think, okay, perfect. Now I can take here. Why? Because later, when they end up giving me this check, I won't have to give up the queen anymore, right? Because I'll be able to escape with the king and I'll have a queen advantage. And so here you fall into the trap once again. Watch out. I do this. Why? That's what you need to think when they play c3. When they play c3, alarms should go off. You can't take this pawn right here. Why? Because this is the other trap they could set for you. Right now, just notice that this knight, why can't it take here? Because the queen is in a pin, right? But they simply have the move queen 4 check, getting out of the pin, and now we'll have to deal with the check, and then they'll capture our knight. And many of you will say, well, I'll just renew the knight's position defending this check, and that's it. But then you'll lose the bishop. So watch out, please. Let all the alarms go off when they play the move c3. And many people here think that after this very dangerous check right here, they can play queen d7 and they're safe from everything. Now, I want you all to do an exercise in the comments to see if you know how to continue here with the white pieces and if it's a good idea to block with the queen or not. I'll be reading all of you. I love that I'm not the only one working. I want us all to work together here, okay? This way we're going to improve much more. Come on, I want to see y'all in the comments. If you made it this far, commenting on what happens if we play queen d7. So pay attention, because to finish the video, I'll show you how to play perfectly whenever they play this trap. Remember, okay? When they take here, knight c6 attacking this point, they defend it, we come with the bishop to pin, okay? And they set the little 3 trap for you, okay? What do we have to do? e6? Above all, okay? The first trap, don't capture here, but e6. And when they set the second one, don't capture here either, okay? Because the queen check will come. What do you have to do? Relax. The move is 6, which is the saving move for everything, because now we're putting the threat back on. Why? Because this bishop could no longer check. This queen couldn't come through here because we'd have b5. So a 6 is the saving move. Now, if we renew the threat and knight takes pawn, they have to defend it. And the most logical way is to defend it with the bishop. They can't come through here because then we'd capture this one. We have to keep defending both points at the same time. Do we want to do knight takes bishop? No, we don't want to do knight takes bishop. Careful. We want to keep pressing, and we're going to make a key move. What's the key move, Chestager? b6. And here, all your problems are going to end. This move is wonderful once again, both the 6 and b6. What does b6 do? Well, it pressures this point with too much force. Now we're threatening bishop pawn takes pawn. This bishop would have to retreat. These central pawns are insane. However, many of you say, this pawn is free since the bishop blocks the queen from capturing back. But the thing is, here, after b6, we have some forced moves that are going to lead us to a winning line. And it's very simple. You just have to memorize the following. Knight takes bishop, eliminating the defender. They can't take with the knight. They have to take with the pawn. If they take with the queen, okay, it would be even worse for them. Notice that we could even do bishop takes knight, opening up these pawns. The structure would be terrible. They have to take with the pawn. And once they take, now what are we going to do? Well, the move seems obvious, right? Queen takes b6. And we're putting on some brutal pressure. Where are we putting on pressure? Well, we're putting pressure on 2 points at once. We're putting pressure here and here. But what happens? This point is now defended quite well. So what I do first is exchange this bishop for the knight, and now queen takes pawn. See the difference? Now we pressure much better because both are undefended. And now notice they can't be defended in any way. This one will fall, and when this one falls, the d5 one will fall too, and the position will fall apart. Notice that this is intact, and we'll be able to castle without any problem. And if they try queen c3, which defends both pawns at once, we simply pin the queen and we'd win it. So they can't be defended in any way. And now, to finish up, in 30 seconds, I'll show you what to do if they play knight c3 against this defense, which I said I'd explain, but it's so simple that it's explained in 30 seconds, right? We've seen that the normal thing here was to come forward, but there was also this knight over here. Simply, what are we going to do? Exchange, and now knight f6, exchanging the knights again. We're threatening the capture. Naturally, they capture to double our pawns. We capture with this one, and in the next moves, we'll do the following. Bishop d6 and castle, and that's it, no matter what they do. Look closely. Bishop d6, castle, and our position will be super easy to play. Whatever they do, what will we do? We'll come with the bishop through here. And now, I don't know, For example, they develop the bishop here, here, it doesn't matter. We'll play knight d7. We can bring the rooks to the center, rooks e8. We bring out the queen either here, or I actually prefer bringing it out on this diagonal. The other rook comes in and it'll be a completely normal game. You're not going to have any kind of problem. It's hard for white to pose any kind of problem if they play knight c3. So here's the video on the aggressive Caro-Kann, which I love. I've had to do some spectacular maneuvering to record it. I hope you leave me a nice like. I really appreciate your support. Please share this video with your friends, and I will see you all again tomorrow in the next video, friends. Goodbye.